Welcome back on this glorious and amazing day. And after 9 beautiful weeks dealing in the first episode of personal relationships, we are ready to enter now into the second episode that will talk about community. There are so many examples, but I will stick to two. The first one, I've heard it since I was a child. And where a parent notices their child in school drifting off and they start hanging out with friends that don't have a positive or good influence, the next thing you know, their darling child that was an A student that did so well, suddenly they drift off, and this can happen in any grade. And instead of taking responsibility, which we'll talk about soon how to do it and what's really going on, they deflect any responsibility. And in their mind, my child, our child, is good and perfect and excellent. They did well. They did well in first grade and second grade and third grade. And they know exactly the names of which 3 or 4 children got them involved in various things and into trouble. And it was since my child started hanging out with these bad children that had an influence. So the first thing the parent does, instead of taking care of the real issues, which we'll talk about, they sit down with their child and said, you know what, you're a good kid. And since you're hanging out with these kids, we're very disappointed. Look at your test marks. Look the way you stopped doing homework. Look the way you're talking at home. Look at your language. That's not you. You're not hanging out anymore with those kids. You're not going to their house, and you won't be able to play. You're going to have to go with these friends and those friends, and they decide who their friends are going to be. And obviously, there's a massive explosion. Some kids which are brilliant do some lip service and promise their parents, and then behind their parents' back, they continue to do what they do. And within a short period of time, the parents find out. And now, on top of the wound that the child already has, which we'll discuss maybe next week, they begin to pour some salt on top of the wound because there's a reason why the child is doing what he's doing. I'm not here to justify the child. We'll soon see what's really going on. Your child is going down a path which is not good and not emotionally and spiritually healthy. And his character is spiraling out of control. But ladies and gentlemen, we will not deflect. It is not because he or she joined that crowd, joined the bad kids of the class. That is true, but that was a symptom of something else. So yes, that did happen. So controlling the symptoms around you will not help, because what you're doing is deflecting. You're not even taking responsibility for the real reason why the child left. And by the way, from my experience analyzing this over 4 decades, what I have always seen, that when the child leaves his good circle, his good behavior, and goes there, that's usually months, if not years, after stuff was brewing inside. So what was brewing inside? What did cause him? If I'm not going to deflect, like, whose fault is it? It isn't as black and white. He was a good kid, everything was fine, and he starts hanging out, or she hangs out with the children with the bad influence, and everything changes. So please join me next week within this second episode, which we will discuss what was the cause, not what's the symptom. And if you are a parent that will take responsibility, you could actually turn around the situation. Because over the years, all those parents that did deflect, and most of them did deflect, things only went from bad to worse. But till next week, please remember you are way greater than you think you are. And I have tremendous respect for you, for those people like you that instead of watching some football or sports or certain Netflix, come here to learn how to build your wonderful and delightful character and to always go from good to better. Bless you, bless your soul, and bless your character. Have an awesome and delightful day.